Good evening. This is your evening briefing for Wednesday, the 15th of April, 2026. Conflict and humanitarian aid dominate today's briefing, with developments from Sudan, Haiti, Iran, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, while Australia sees updates on defence, health, human rights, and emissions reporting. Leading the briefing, US Central Command says its blockade of Iranian ports and coastal areas was enforced impartially in the first 24 hours, and that no ships made it past the blockade. CENTCOM also says 6 merchant vessels were ordered to turn around and re-enter an Iranian port in the Gulf of Oman, though independent tracking showed some ships moving through the Strait of Hormuz around the same time. Also in the briefing, the United Nations is releasing $140.5 million in emergency funding to help 1 million people in Haiti as the country faces displacement, hunger, and violence. The aid will support food, drinking water, healthcare, shelter, and protection services, including help for women and children, survivors of sexual violence, and children staying in school. Meanwhile, 4 people abducted by the Convention for the Popular Revolution have been rescued in Ituri province after a joint FARDC and MONUSCO operation. The survivors included a police officer, a community leader, a woman and her child, and they had been held for more than 2 months before being handed over to local authorities. Elsewhere, Amnesty International says Sudan's war is intensifying, with both the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces accused of direct and indiscriminate attacks on civilians, sexual violence, killings, and blocking aid. The group says the abuses may amount to war crimes or crimes against humanity and is calling on the UN Security Council to expand the Darfur arms embargo to all of Sudan. Also today, Australia says it will spend between $12 billion and $15 billion over the next decade on autonomous capabilities, including $2 billion to $5 billion more than had been planned under the National Defence Strategy. Defence Minister Richard Marles says the shift reflects how modern warfare is changing, and he points to Ghost Shark, Ghost Bat, and counter-drone technology as examples. Separately, Admiral David Johnston says the Australian Defence Force is better positioned to defend Australia's interests as the new National Defence Strategy is about to be released. He says the past 18 months have brought successful long-range missile tests, new autonomous systems, new platforms, and the highest full-time force since 2002 at 62,653 members. In other news, the Australian Human Rights Commission has released a report on how the Gaza war has affected Jewish, Muslim, Palestinian, Arab, and Israeli communities in Australia. It documents anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and anti-Palestinian and anti-Arab abuse, including workplace discrimination, verbal abuse, and harassment, and says the country needs a stronger response to racism. Turning to another story, New South Wales will invest $4.5 million to let eligible pharmacists prescribe the oral contraceptive pill directly to women over 18, giving patients another option beyond a GP visit. The state will cover the first 5,000 consultations, and trained pharmacists will also be able to offer other contraceptive options, including the injection and the combined hormonal ring. And finally, the Clean Energy Regulator says 208 covered industrial facilities reported 132.8 million tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent in 2024-25, down 2.3% from the year before. It also says 98.6% of facilities met their compliance obligations, while more credits were surrendered and fewer were issued than in the previous period. That is your evening briefing.